save the date items. And how about this new venue? What do you think? It's pretty cool, huh? It's not permanent. In fact, it's probably the last time we'll ever be here, but enjoy it, all right? We want to welcome to the stage Mr. Jim Hogan for some quick announcements regarding our great partner, Inspiro Financial. Mr. Jim.
It's a good-looking crowd, probably the best real estate agent crowd I've ever seen. So, thank you for letting me take a minute or two to talk about Inspiro Financial. Has everyone heard about Inspiro Financial? Okay, awesome. We are a full mortgage service lender, located in most of your offices. And so I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about our commitment to you. Inspiro Financial was created to help real estate agents. Our goal, our passion, our mission is to help you be successful. It really is. We're serious about it. We want to help you. We want to help you with your business. We want to help you grow. We want to help you with your clients. And the goal really is to make you look like rock stars, right? We want you to look good, because if you look good, those clients are going to refer others to you. They're going to come back to you. So that's our goal. That's our commitment. We want to help you in that endeavor. We have a lot of cool technology, a lot of cool tools. Something we're doing right now. Has everyone heard about the Everest Advantage program? Okay, cool. It's a really cool program, and let me tell you why it's so cool. Because we're in a unique market. It's a tough market. But the Everest Advantage program, what we're going to do, we're going to take your buyers up front. We are going to review their credit. We're going to review their income, their assets. We're going to look at the whole file up front. So what happens is our underwriter is going to give you a letter with their signature that you can give to that listing agent and say, this client is fully approved. And by doing so, we're hoping, and we've had a lot of success with it already, is you'll get more deals under contract. So with that said, it will shorten down that process. You know, you can take that and say, let's close in 2 weeks. Because once that loan's approved, we really only need, once you have a buyer under contract, the appraisal and title. And then we're going to close quickly. So anyways, that's our commitment, the Everest Advantage. If you haven't heard about it, come and talk to us. We would love to sit down for a couple of minutes and let you know more about it and help you and your buyers. So thank you.
Hey, who here has a client that submitted an offer on a home with 48 offers on it? Or something like that. It's tough, right? And have you felt a little bit, let's say, not super confident in telling your client from time to time to put a ton of earnest money down and non-refundable earnest money, and you're worried about the appraisal, right? We as agents, I think, are feeling just a little shy and gun-shy about these situations. What Inspiro is providing right now is an opportunity for you to feel confident and be aggressive as you get your clients fully pre-qualified and aware of what's going on. So make sure you're connecting with them, and God, it sure helps that they've got their team right there on the first floor. The underwriter is right there to communicate with and does an excellent job as well. All right, let's keep rolling. We're excited to announce that All Valley Escrow is reopening their Westlake Village office on May 17th. Welcome back, Westlake. And North Star Title is excited to announce, drum roll please, after 17 proposals, she said yes. Actually, I'm sure it was just the first one, but congratulations, Ryan, Caitlin, where are you guys? Stand up, guys, come on, let us give you some attention and love. Congratulations, so happy. Okay, and we want to thank all of our, sorry, I had all these jokes, guys, going through my mind, and I have to decide which ones are appropriate and which ones aren't. I think I skipped a good one there, I gotta be honest. Okay, our partners, our Everest team, here we go. All Valley Escrow, Inspiro, North Star, and Seller's Choice. We're so grateful for all the support and love you give us. You know, speaking of this auditorium today, anybody remember what it used to be called? Knowles, yes. And do you know what it is now?
Awaken.
But when I went to look for Awaken on my map today, it was a church. Now, I know that Summit has often been a religious experience, right? So for the first time, I'm feeling like George is kind of sneaking us down this path, like, oh, let's just start having summits in church now. Why not? Anyway, we're excited to have you here, brothers and sisters. Oh! I'm kidding. I hope you're all laughing with me right now. Okay, we've got this next slide's gonna blow your mind. Wait until you see it. Boom! How cool is that? Mikayla, you did that, right? How about Mikayla on that? Guys, we are starting to do some great things down in the Moab market, and just wanted to quickly comment on that. In fact, Brandon and Alicia, are you here? I know I saw Brandon right there in the back. Check out Brandon and Alicia. Guys, they've created some awesome partnerships with some huge influencers in the Moab area. Their first agent joining their team. They're doing all their stuff all along the Wasatch Front, but they've connected really well there. So the second home market is really on fire there. They're involved in some big projects there. We don't officially have like a branch or anything there, in case anyone's wondering, but we've got agents that are going to be working there. Brandon and Alicia are doing some really cool stuff, so make sure you connect with them if you want to know more about Moab. Sound good? Yes. All right, save the date. Get your phones out. Are you ready? We've got 2 more foursomes available for the Swinging for Harambe Women's Council of Realtors Golf Tournament, who our own Kenzie Cooley is president. Kenzie, wave. She's the prez. So if you want to participate, sign up. Next, we have the Everest Prospecting School is sold out. FYI, just in case you were wanting to be there, you cannot. But on June 14th and 15th, there's another one that is available. So you should act fast because the last slide was a sold out slide. So we know this one is going to sell out. So if you want to participate, jump in and communicate with Judy or your coach about this. Okay, June 29th, Summit. Make sure you have it. And then August 10th, maybe I will comment for real about our location change. There's some strict policies there at the Larry H. Miller event where they really wanted us to be like fully masked, fully separated. We couldn't have food, and if we had food, you had to stay 6 feet. And last time, we were not fully obedient to the rules, and we want to make sure we keep that relationship really strong. So we will be back there, most likely, but we're in a beautiful place today, so we're so glad to be here. We don't have locations reserved yet for those dates, I don't think, right? Thanks. I don't even know where I'm looking. Okay. And Everest Community Golf Foundation golf tournament. We're back on, guys. Anybody participated in this in the past? It is a blast. Fun day. And in fact, if you can't golf, you should show up for the luncheon after. Someone's going to say they can't eat lunch, but just show up for the luncheon, and there's a, what do we have after? Raffle. The raffle is awesome. I put $100 in or something every time. I walk away with like $500 worth of goods. I'm telling you. You should show up. Limited spaces, yep. And then we have our Elevate event, October 12th through 14th. Salt Lake City has never looked more beautiful. Early bird special, $149. Come and participate. Sign up. Great turnout last time. Are we ready? Is that it? Yeah. One more, sorry. And again, a reminder, we have our top producer trip in Kauai, April 17th through the 24th, which is going to be really, really fun. Make sure you're thinking of that this year while you're producing, prospecting, getting ready to participate in this event. It is so much fun, and all signs are pointing to the fact that we can all be there together and in person, which will be great. So let's make that happen. All right. All right, thank you. Yes, wow. Oh, there was a back page to my notes. Sorry, guys. Rookie mistake. Jeannie, I don't know what's wrong with me today. Okay, we are excited today for some incredible speakers who have prepared some incredible messages for you, and it's going to be amazing. One of my church jokes was going to be, I've been asked to conduct, and Jen Morris is presiding. She happens to be our first speaker today. So guys, give a huge warm welcome to Miss Jennifer Morris. Let's go, Jen. Following Jen, we will hear from the great Mr. Russ Fortune, and then George, and then we'll rock and roll. Thank you, guys.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, it's a packed house. I didn't even take the time to turn around and look and see it, everyone. All these beautiful, shining faces. Can everyone hear me okay? Is it echoing? Is it too loud? I feel like it's too loud. It's okay. Okay, got an okay from Jessica. We're good. Okay, well, I am so grateful, first of all, that I get to be George Morris for the next 15 minutes. That's something I'm really looking forward to. Hey, I am so excited to share a topic with you that I thought that we could all be familiar with, and it's about mindset. No matter what we're in, if we're on sales, title, mortgage, real estate, if you're visiting, we all have the ability to control our mindset. So I am hoping that you are able to walk away with this story that I'm about to share with something to improve your life, or at least to take something away and think about. So about 4 years ago, I'm driving in the car with my son, and my phone rings, and it comes along over the Bluetooth, and I don't recognize the number, and I answer it. And it's a woman on the line, and she's calling from the hospital. And I had just recently gone in for a mammogram a couple days previous, and she said, I'm calling from the Women's Center, and we found something on your mammogram, and we need you to come in quickly because it's pretty significant, and we need to have more tests and run some things. And I said, well, okay. She said, can you come in tomorrow? I said, sure. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of strange. I've never had that call before. Hang up the phone, and my son said, well, what does that mean, Mom? I said, you know what? I don't really know, but you know what? I'm not going to worry about it because I really don't have any information yet. We won't go there. I'm sure everything is fine. Proceed to call my husband, tell him about it. He asked the same questions. Well, what does that mean? I said, you know what? It's probably nothing. I'm not going to worry about it. We'll just wait to see what happens. I don't have enough information. I'm feeling really powerful and strong in the moment. Just going, I'm not going to fret over this. We proceed to drive home, and my stepmom is there who has my kids, and she had taken them to lunch, and the kids are running in, and I go up to her because she's actually had breast cancer a couple times before, and I said, you know, the strangest thing happened. This nurse called me. She said they found something, and I need to go back in. What do you think that's about? And she's like, oh my gosh, you have breast cancer. I'm like, what? And she said, you have it for sure, honey. Don't worry, I know the ropes, I know what to do, I will take care of it. Don't worry, I insist that I go with you on this appointment, I insist. And I'm like, well, okay, but you know, we really don't know anything. It's going to be okay. I insist. So I'm thinking, well, I probably should take my husband with me when he's probably an important person. So I call the nurse, and she said, you know what, don't worry, you can only have one person. This isn't, you know, a major appointment. It's just to verify what we already know, and then he can come to the next one. So I said, okay. So, you know, that was early in the afternoon. The rest of the day, I start thinking about it, and I'm just like, gosh, well, you know, I'm trying to be really strong and just keep the mind frame of I don't know anything, so let's just not worry about it. You know, what are my options? Talking about it more. Well, by the next morning, I get up and I get ready. I'm in the bathroom and everyone's gone to school or work. And you know those moments in your life where you never forget because they're tied to such emotion. I look in the mirror, I'm about 6 inches from the mirror, and I say something to myself. I say, you have breast cancer. And I'm saying it over and over again. You have breast cancer, you have breast cancer. And then I say to myself, now what are you going to do? What's your plan? Because gentlemen, listen up. If you don't already know this about women, let me inform you about something. Women love to have a plan. It like makes us feel warm and cozy, like we're wrapping ourselves in a minky blanket, sitting on the couch with our favorite dessert, watching a chick flick on TV. Like that's how much we love to have a plan. So I start thinking and I start asking myself some questions. And at the time, our oldest daughter, Mackenzie, is engaged to Dylan. And the wedding's about 6 weeks away. So I start thinking and I'm like, well, if I start chemotherapy right away, I probably won't have any hair. And what is that going to look like? How am I going to show up at the reception and the wedding like that? And I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll just get like a scarf because I've seen some people with cancer with a scarf, or maybe, you know, I could get a really fun hat to wear, you know, like they wear at the Kentucky Derby. Like I'm starting to think bigger and bigger, and I'm like, you know what? I could get a wig. And I could get a blonde wig because I have always wanted to be a blonde, always. It has taken me years to love this brunette hair. Always wanted to be a blonde. So I'm like, I'm going big. I am going to be blonde and I am going to love it. And I just keep thinking and thinking. I'm like, okay, I need to change some things in my life. I'm going to start laughing every day because, you know, I remember hearing a story about someone who cured themselves from cancer because they laughed every day. So I'm going to laugh every day. I'm not going to let anyone toxic in my life. I'm really going to protect my environment. I'm going to, you know, I'm a person who is a believer that things happen to you for a reason. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to be joined with this group of women and we're supposed to be together for a reason. And we're going to be so close and we're going to be there to love and support each other. And we're going to do luncheons every week and we're going to meet. And I'm really going to be part of the support system and I'm going to be there for them and they're going to be there for me. And it's going to be a really nice environment. And, you know, one of my favorite things to do in the summer is to garden. So I started thinking, like, you know, when you love something, you can tell that you love it and it's your passion because you lose all track of time. When I'm in the garden, I lose all track of time. Like I love to dig, I love to plant, I love to weed, I love to rake, I love to do all of it. So I thought, I'm gonna take Wednesdays off and I'm only going to garden. Like I'll start off at Home Depot, get some stuff, and I'm just gonna garden all day. It's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be great. So my mom picks me up and we start to go to the hospital and she's comforting me and I'm thinking in my head, oh, you were so sweet, but I have a plan and I'm good. Like I'm really feeling good about myself and this has happened for a reason and I'm really feeling, the more I think about my plan, the better I'm feeling. We get to the hospital and you walk into this room and it's just like literally filled with love. I really, when I walk into a room, I'm always like figuring out what the energy is with people. So I check in with the nurse and she's loving and kind and I sit down and I'm waiting and I'm just observing, looking around the room and there's some women sitting and they're talking and there's some women who are just sitting there very quiet. There's some other women who are very nervous and I'm really just sending love to them and thinking we're all going to be friends and we're going to do lunch every week because we're all in this together. This is my plan. You're all part of my plan. You don't even know it yet. So the nurse takes me back and she's so loving and kind. And she's trying to reassure me everything's okay. And she said, we're going to do another mammogram and, you know, just so we have to verify what we found. And I'm like, that's okay, that's great. Chit-chatting, talking. Go in, get the mammogram done. And she's like, yeah, here it is. Here's the spot right here that we're really concerned about. And she shows it to me. And I can't read an x-ray to save my life. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I see it. Okay, great, no problem. And she said, okay, well, we've got that. Come back in this room and we're gonna have the doctor come in and do an ultrasound on you just to verify everything. So I said, okay, you know what, she's comforting me some more and I'm like, you know what, I am totally fine. And in my head, I'm thinking, you really should go in the next room because that woman looks really nervous and she needs you to comfort her because I have my plan and I'm okay. I'm great. I am totally fine. I'm going to go wig shopping and I'm gonna, you know, not be around toxic people and I'm gonna laugh a lot. So the doctor comes in and I go in this room and I go in to have this ultrasound and he's talking to the nurse and they're talking medical jargon and I'm really just like laying there kind of daydreaming about what I'm going to do that afternoon, not really worried or concerned about the moment. And he turns to me and he says, well, you know what? It looks like it's just a cyst. It's not a big deal, so you're good to go. My mind goes completely blank, like not a thought in my head. And it's almost like I'm having an outer body experience, because I can literally see my face and I'm staring at him. And our eyes connect and he's looking at me and I'm just looking at him with no emotion, and he puts his arm on my shoulder and he said, you do not have breast cancer. You are fine. I will see you back here in a year. And the first thought that comes into my mind is, does this mean I can't take Wednesdays off and garden all day? Because that was like my favorite part of my plan, and I had all of these things that I needed to do with my plan, and now I can't do them. And I literally walked out of there just stunned, because my plan wasn't what it turned out to be. And even my mom, as I told her, she was stunned as well. And as we were driving home, I really started to think, wow, the mind is such an amazing thing. Like, I completely had myself talked into that and convinced that I had breast cancer, and I didn't. Like, I had truly convinced myself. And it made me think, well, what are some other things in my life that I've convinced myself, like good and bad? You know, there is actually a book that I am currently reading called Mindset by Carol Dweck. If you have not read it, I strongly, strongly suggest it. She talks about two things at the beginning of the book. She talks about, she did studies where she brought children in and she would put puzzles down on the table for them to do. And she determined there were two kinds of mindsets. One were a growth mindset and one a fixed mindset. Now, a fixed mindset is someone who truly believes they're born with the IQ that they get. There's no way that they can improve it, they are what they are, and they don't like to strive for things because they don't like failure, because they're either good at it or they fail, and there's nothing in between. So these children wouldn't even try. Like, she would give them a really easy puzzle in the beginning and they would do it, but then they would see a hard one and they wouldn't even try it because they're like, I can't do it. I can't do it. The other kind of mindset is a growth mindset. And those children would do the easy puzzle and be excited, and they would get a challenging one and they would say, oh my gosh, this is so challenging, I'm so excited. Because what they loved is they loved the chance to be able to do something, because they loved to fail. Because when they failed, they knew that they would learn something from it. So let me give you an example of my fixed and my growth mindset, a story I was thinking of. About a year ago, we started COVID, and it's right in the thick of it, right when we first go in quarantine lockdown, and I'm in the kitchen, and all the kids are there. Ashley, she goes to UCLA in California. They had shut down the campus, and she drove home. So we're in the kitchen. George is at the office trying to figure out how to use Zoom, and I am in total panic mode. And I start saying, okay, kids, this is the plan, because you know what? Everything's going to be going down. Ashley, you need to start filling out loan applications, because chances are you're not going to be able to pay for your college education anymore. You might need to go get a job. Mackenzie and Dylan, you really should start thinking about renting out your house, because you could save some money and someone can rent it, and then you just move in here with us and save some money. Isaac and Ethan, you're probably going to have to drop out of school and go get jobs, because we're not going to make enough money. And Bella, I know you're only 13, but I've always called you an old soul. So if you fake it really good and we lie about your age and give you some really good references, you might be able to get a job yourself. So I'm looking around and I look at Kenzie and I go, why are you still here? You should be home packing. Like, let's go. And she's like, woman, there is no chance on this earth I will ever move in with you leading out. You're as crazy as you are. So after that went on for a couple of days, and then George came home from the office and said, we're done. Turn off the television. We are done. And we had turned it off, and I realized how much of a panic it was putting me in. It was giving me so much stress. So then I started to notice some different things. I noticed, like, I had a phrase after COVID. I said, I am the luckiest shopper in the world. Like, if you want to find toilet paper, you come with me because I find it every time I go to the store. And if it's not there, I would find it 2 days later, guaranteed. Like, that was my claim to fame. I am the luckiest shopper, the luckiest. And then I started coming up with the phrase COVID miracles. So there were always COVID miracles around me. The fact that I baked bread for the first time is a COVID miracle. I took a picture of it and sent it out to the family. And I'm like, I made bread for the first time. And I would really suggest following the bread recipe because I used salted butter when you're not supposed to, and it was so awful, you couldn't even eat it. But I made it, and it was really pretty, so I considered it a miracle. The fact that my children were out on the driveway, all of them playing basketball and getting along. I'm like, another COVID miracle, like this might be a good thing. So I was always pointing out these COVID miracles, and it completely changed my mindset to a more of a growth mindset than it was a fixed. So Henry Ford has a great quote that I love. He says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Now, let's talk about the real estate market. Is it not a crazy market? Yes or yes? Yes, it is a crazy market. Tens of thousands of dollars over list price, waiving, appraisals. It is crazy. So, as I walk around and talk to these agents, I'm always wondering what makes an agent excel in this market and what makes an agent not excel in this market. My guess is that the ones who are excelling are the ones who have the growth mindset. They're the ones who are willing to take the risk to go out and fail and then figure it out. Be creative, because obviously we need to be super creative in this market. Here are some examples of some agents I've just recently talked to that I'm thinking, you totally have a growth mindset. I'm down in Orem the other day and I'm talking to Erin Mailer. And I'm always asking agents, how are you doing in this market? And she goes, oh, I don't watch the news. I don't even listen to the numbers. I just set my goals at the beginning of the year. I'm working, and actually, I'm really so close to the goals that I'm probably going to exceed them this year. So it doesn't even bother me at all. And I was like, wow, what a great outlook. What a great outlook she has on this. And Nikki Nunez, I called the other night, and I leave a message because she didn't answer. And she calls me back later on, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just couldn't get you. I was in a listing appointment and I'm just rushing off to another appointment. And I'm thinking growth mindset, because here she is so busy in this market. Think of a Brian and a Ruth Ann Noel. They had the best year ever last year in this market, this crazy market. If you didn't see Brian on some of the Zoom talks in the morning, he had some great answers. Super creative with what they're doing with their business. The best year in COVID. I'm thinking, okay, they have a growth mindset. It's not the fact that they've got it solved. It's the fact that they are putting themselves out there and they're willing to fail. And they're learning and they're willing to learn from it, and they're able to move on from it. So, with that growth mindset, what is a growth mindset? It's just a belief. And what is a belief? It's just something that we tell ourselves over and over and over again. So, in closing, as I would love to challenge you to walk away with a challenge, really start asking yourself some questions about your business, about your life, about your personal life, with your family, with your friends. Are you living a life that has a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? Might be something to be looking into. Where is it something where you just shut it down and that's what it is? Or could you maybe look at something with a different perspective? Or even more, take a risk, ask someone what they think that you are. That could be a little risky. I read a great quote in a book, and it said this quote, and I've never forgotten it. It says, your mind is a liar. Because really, our mind is there for one thing, and it's to protect us at all costs. So if it has to lie to you, it will. So if you are going to tell yourself a lie, make sure that it is a beautiful one and that you can change the way you're looking at things. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate it. I just know I am so inspired by you guys each and every day, walking in and going through this market, and for the opportunity to be here with you today. Thank you.
get the talking. You get the better of me. All right. Hey, so I ran into Janet a few days ago and she said to me, I am not speaking after you. But I'm like, no, I should have said, I'm not speaking after you. That was good. Is that not good? I love that. Your mind is a liar. I love that. Good. Well, hey, I'm excited to be with you guys. What I'm going to talk to you today about is accountability and paying up on accountability contracts. So George, don't owe me $200. He promised me to give me some daily messages and $100 a day till he did. So there's 2 days. So thanks. That's what I got for you. No, I'm kidding. All right. So here's what I want to talk about is we just came off of Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the women here. And thank you for all that you do. And what I want to talk to you guys today about is probably the greatest lesson that I ever learned from my mom. But in order for me to share that with you, I first have to give you the backstory to understand how I learned this lesson. So I want to start by telling you a story back when I was 7 years old. So picture this. So at 7 years old, I'm sitting down in the basement in front of the TV. And I've got my legs crossed. I don't remember what I was watching, but probably it was Happy Days or Laverne and Shirley, for those that remember those shows. I'm guessing it was one of those. But I'm sitting there watching TV, and my mom is right over my shoulder here, has the ironing board out, and she's ironing clothes. Well, in the process of that, the phone rings. And I didn't think anything of it. My mom walks and in the basement to get to where the phone was. Obviously, we didn't have cell phones back then, but so she had to walk around this corner to answer the phone. Well, even at 7 years old, I could tell by the way that she answered the phone, something, or how she was talking on the phone, that something wasn't right. And so, being the 7-year-old, I jump up and I go running to see who that was or what the problem was. And my mom hangs up the phone. She walks past me, and I said, "Mom, what's wrong?" And she didn't answer me. And she turned and she starts to head up the stairs. And I'm, as a 7-year-old, following behind, and I say, "Mom, what's wrong?" And she doesn't answer. She's halfway up the stairs, and I say, "Mom, what's the matter?" She doesn't answer me still. Finally, she gets to the top of the stairs and starts to turn. And I was very loud at this point, and I said, "Mom, what's wrong?" And she said, "Your dad's been shot." And immediately, I was like, at 7 years old, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't understand anything. Now, I don't remember anything from that point until my mom was taking me down to the neighbor's house. And she told me, "You're going to go to the neighbors and they'll put you on the TV. You can watch TV and just, I'm going to go see what's going on with your dad." And I begged and pleaded to be able to go with her, but she wouldn't let me go. So my mom leaves. I'm now at the neighbors. They're trying to entertain us. They've got the TV on, which there were 5 kids in my family, and I'm the youngest of the 5 children. So the 3 older were gone off doing activities, and my sister that's just older than me was down at the neighbor's house that my mom took me down to. Well, I get down to the neighbor's house, and obviously I can't concentrate on the TV because I don't know what necessarily that means that he's been shot. I don't know, is he alive or is he dead or what the deal is? Well, eventually my mom comes home, and what had happened is they had just told her he had been shot, and she went to the hospital, and when they got there, she went and said, she saw a nurse that she knew, and she said, "Where's Doug?" And the nurse said, "Oh, they don't bring him here." And she was like, "What do you mean they don't bring them here?" And then she realized what she meant was they take them to a morgue. They don't take them to the hospital when they're dead. And so my mom came back home, and what we found out later on, so here's what had happened. My dad was a pharmacist, and he owned a pharmacy out in Magna. And it was not uncommon for the pharmacy to have a holdup, for somebody to come in to either get money or drugs from the drugstore or from the pharmacy. And so it was a pretty normal thing that would happen. In fact, my brother, I only have one other brother, and he worked at the store at one point, and a guy came in with a gun and said, "Give me all your money," and my brother laughed because he thought it was a joke. But it would happen from time to time. And so my dad had taught
the people that worked there, because they were usually teenagers, high school age people, that if somebody comes in to rob the store, do whatever they want you to do, and just then you try to get out. Well, so on this particular night, what had happened is this guy had hitchhiked and he was on a semi and on 201, so you guys that are familiar, and for you guys in California, just one of the highways here, he got off out of the semi truck that he had hitchhiked in, and as he walked up 8400 West, the first thing that he saw was my dad's pharmacy. So he went in there and he had a gun, pulled it out to the cashier that was at the front and said, "Take me to where the drugs are." So she walked him back to my dad, where my dad then, of course, seeing a gun with her being led back there, said, "Okay, what do you want? We'll take care of it. We'll get it for you." And of course, he wanted the hard stuff, is what he said, meaning the narcotics. So my dad took him back. He would keep those in the back part of the pharmacy, so they weren't just right there in the open where you could see. And so they went back there, they gathered up all of these narcotics, they go to the front counter, and they've got the drugs all sitting there, and they're putting them in bags. Well, in the process of doing that, one of the bottles with some pills in it falls on the floor. Well, it kind of scared the guy, so he shot his gun, which just shot into a wall somewhere. And when that happened, though, and where I heard this from was from one of the teenagers that was there, but I didn't hear this part of the story until many, many years later. In fact, it's only been in the last maybe 10 years that I heard this story. But what happened is the guy got nervous when the bottles fell. He accidentally shot off the gun. And my dad at that point said, "Okay, this is for real," which was the signal for the teenagers I'm going to distract him, basically. You get out of the store so that nothing happens. Well, in the process of that, he ended up shooting my dad right in the temple, in the head. And what ends up happening then is after that happens, he takes off, throws the gun in the garbage can right outside the front door, which not a smart real move to do, but he throws it in the garbage can and then takes off. Well, they then call the police try to come, they try to find him, they can't find the guy. But a couple of days later, this guy is hitchhiking again in Murray. He's hitchhiking, and someone picks him up, and he starts to brag and tell this guy that he picked up. He's like, "Yeah, did you hear about the shooting out in Magna? That druggist is what he called her." And the guy said, "Yeah, I heard about that." And he said, "Well, I'm the one who did it." And he said, "Well, do you still have the drugs?" And the guy said, "Yeah." And thankfully for this guy, he said, "Well, I know somebody who will buy the drugs." And he said, "You do?" He said, "Yeah, so let's just go to my house and then I'll call my friend and we'll get those drugs sold for you." So he took him to his house and then went and told his wife, he said, "Hey, let me just go call." He pulls his wife into the back room and tells his wife, "That guy out there is the one who killed that pharmacist," which, now for women, imagine your husband bringing home a murderer and telling you, "Oh, hey, this is the guy." So, but thankfully, I'm so grateful that happened, though, because he was able to then go and talk to the guy while his wife called the police, where they then came and arrested him and caught him as a result of that. So that's the backstory. So now let me take you to why I tell you that, and what I learned from my mom is probably 3 or 4 years later. So I'm around 10, 11, somewhere in that range. And my best friend, his name was Ed. Ed and I were hanging out and talking, and he asked me one day, he said, "How do you feel about the guy that killed your dad? I'll bet you got to be really mad." And honestly, at that point, I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm mad or not. I really had never even thought about it. And I think it's because of just the way that my mom always responded. But I said, "Well, I don't know." And so I went to my mom and I asked my mom, I said, "Are we mad at the guy that killed Dad?" And my mom's response was this: "No, we forgave him a long time ago." And I went, "Oh, okay." And I went back to Ed and I said, "No, we forgave him a long time ago." And we just kept playing like we were playing. And here's the interesting thing is that happened. I was 7 at the time. I'm 52, or almost 52, not quite, 51. But in all of that time, I have never once, because of my mom doing that, I've never once had any anger or resentment against the guy. I did try to look it up recently to see kind of, is he still in prison or what happened? And what I found is he had died in prison, and he got some disease or something and passed away. But I have never had any anger or resentment towards him because of the way that my mom responded. Well, one of my favorite books that I have ever read is The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. And there's a quote in there that I want to read to you that he said that I think is fitting for all of us in terms of forgiveness. And here's what he said. The unmistakable truth about forgiveness is that it is not a reward that must be earned. Forgiveness is a gift to be given. So I'm going to read that first part again. The unmistakable truth about forgiveness is that it is not a reward that must be earned. Forgiveness is a gift to be given. When I give forgiveness, I free my own spirit to release the anger and hatred harbored in my heart. By granting forgiveness, I free my spirit to pursue my future happily and unencumbered by the anchors of my past. And then here's the key piece. And forgiveness, when granted to others, becomes a gift to myself. And so I just want to invite you to think about, who do you need to forgive? Who in your life do you need to offer that gift? Because one of the things that I've learned is very likely they are not walking around worried about the fact that you're offended by them. They're not worrying about it. It is something that is holding you back. And so I would just invite you to stop and think about, who do you need to forgive? Is it God? Do you need to forgive God because you're questioning maybe why he would let something happen? Is it yourself? Do you need to forgive yourself for something you've done? But give yourself that gift if it is. And then finally, others. Everyone else, I think, is the way George usually says it is. Who else do you need to forgive? And so my message for you today is just be willing to offer that gift that, interestingly enough, becomes the gift for yourself as you offer and get that forgiveness. So thank you for listening to me. Thanks for your time. And George,
Great job, Jennifer. Thank you. You said it just like I wrote it. Bam! Just kidding. I don't write that much. That was awesome, by the way. You did a great job. Bree said you better try to follow that up, right? You're gonna have, man, this is a good motley crew. Is it me? Is that better? All right. You know why? You don't have whiskers on your face. All right. Where's Russ? Where'd he go? All right. Good job, man. I appreciate the fact that you got the memo on what you were supposed to wear, you got the memo on what you're supposed to wear, and we're all in studio. So, all right. Hey, how's everybody doing today? All right, good. Good to be with you. Good to be together. Man, it's this. I guess this would be a COVID miracle. Welcome to everybody who's on the Zoom call and on the screen, both in California and Utah. I know there's a handful of you guys there. Welcome to all the guests that are here for the first time. There's a bunch of you in here. A number of you haven't ever met before, but man, I'm really excited just to be together. Like it wouldn't even matter what I was saying or what anyone said. Just the fact that we're together is actually really a fun part of this thing. So thank you for being here. In fact, when I pulled up a little bit early. I was going to review a few notes, and man, there was only a few cars in the parking lot. I was like, oh gosh, man, there was only, when we said the mask is optional, I thought, well, that means there's going to be like 10 people in here. So good, I'm glad you guys came. So great to be with you. So with that being said, this month I hit my 50th year. And on May 29th, so if you want to note that, you're welcome to note that. No, but on May 29th, I turned 50 years old. And to all my Californians, my good friends out there, just know I was conceived in California, but I was born in Utah. My mother is here, right, who created this crazy guy up here. So she's right here. I'll acknowledge my mom. My mother's very out. Many of you don't know the story, but we've only known each other about 2 years and about, I don't know, a month or two. She always sends randomly the number of days it's been. Do you know how many days it's been? 890 days that we've known each other. So it's been a very, very tender and sweet thing. I know many of you have been along that journey with me. So as we get started, so 50 years, So about 3 weeks ago, I started writing in my phone, and I started writing this, what have I learned over the last 50 years? And I have to tell you that I have learned a lot. And I started looking and reflecting on what I've learned, and what I realized is that the learning, one, isn't over, but number two is I started asking the question, where have I learned all that I've learned? You might consider asking yourself that question. Now, everything I've learned, where did I learn it? You know, some of what you've learned it because you learned it from the standpoint of your experiences, your failures, right? Your mistakes. You've learned them from the fact of your successes and the victories of your life. You've also learned them from other people, right? You've been able to observe, watch, and see what other people are doing. You see that on a regular basis. But the real learning is interesting. Most people, once they leave high school or what you might call a formal education, they stop learning on a regular basis. And I'm going to ask you just, have you stopped learning? Now, I get the fact that you probably wouldn't be in this room if you were not someone who was committed to learning. But I would just challenge you, ask yourself, when was the last time you read a book? When was the last time you listened to a really strong and powerful audible? How are you sourcing the things that you're learning? What are you looking to, and where do you get your learning? Do you get from only one source? And this earth is a magnificent thing. And I started looking back in my life, and I started realizing that, all the things that I've learned have come from so many different sources, from intuition, from my own thinking, from God, to obviously you, to all the different things. And one of the things I've appreciated about Everest as an organization is I still strongly believe, and it's expanded, right? You've got the mortgage, you've got the title, you've got the escrow, you've got all sorts of other avenues besides just the real estate agents in it. But it truly continues to be one of the greatest gathering of real estate professionals the world has ever seen. You're iconic, not necessarily because of the amount of money that you earn. You're iconic because of the amount of success that you have, because of who you've become. So back, I don't know, somewhere in my mid-20s, I started into real estate when I was 22 years old. And I started looking back at that time, and I started reflecting these last several weeks. And how many of you have been in the business longer than 20 years? Almost half of you in here. So, you start reflecting, you start looking back. I remember when I started in my early 20s, I said, okay, I'll be done by 30 and retired, and I won't have to work anymore. I'll be done. And I realized that when I was early, there was this idea that all that mattered would I would earn some money and I would not have to work anymore. Today, as life has gone on, I've realized the great beauty and the desire that I have to work hard, because it does one thing for me above all things that matter to me. And that is that it allows me and forces me and charges me with this idea of becoming more. So to Jen's point, which she said, are you of a growth mindset, or are you of a fixed mindset in regards to how you approach your life? Some of you have already arrived and thought you've arrived, and so you stopped the growth process. Some of you still need to continue to grow. But the reality is, I would just argue that you can never arrive, ever. There will never be a day where you arrive. So when I sat outside the office of Mr. King, I used to think, by the way, that your principal was always called Mr. King. When I was in kindergarten and first grade, second grade, and third grade, because I got to know my principal really well. And I can tell you from a number of reasons, from climbing on the roof during school time, to peeing in the corner of the parking lot during recess, to always having this one statement, cannot keep his hands to himself, on my report card. I had unsatisfactory, always a U, never the H, and I graduated with a whopping 2.8 grade point average. And so when I see one of my sons who struggles with school, I'm like, oh, he's doing far better than I was ever. And I think back about the fact that I was not a very good student. Now, many of you may be a great student. You may have a quest and a desire to learn and to grow and to want to learn more and to achieve more. But the fact of the matter is that if you don't have that desire, the fact is that the market will begin to dictate what happens in your business and what doesn't happen in your business. If the market's good, you will excel. If the market's not so good, you won't excel. And you become dictated by what the market is doing based on the fact that you stopped this idea of learning. So I would hope that there would always be this constant quest for every one of you, that you have this deep desire to learn, to grow, to become more. And the things I want to share with you specifically today are just, maybe depending on our time, but 5 to 7 things that really, I would tell you, that have had a profound impact on my life. and they've had a profound impact. Now, some of it will be going down a little bit of memory lane with you. Some of you will say, oh my gosh, I've heard that story before. But I really feel impressed to share some similar stories because there's some people in this room who have never heard some of these stories. They've never heard them, and if you've heard them, hopefully I'll tell them better, and you'll laugh again. Because the fact is they're meaningful. Because if I look at just number one is this: dream big. If there's anything I've learned in life, it is to dream big. And very few people do. They say they do. They say they do, but they don't. You see that in the relationship to what happens in their life. They say they have a dream, but very few people are living it. Some people struggle finding that dream. My observation is that if you get clear on what you dream about and what you want, that life becomes much more purposeful. That every action, every decision, and everything that you do becomes easier because you know where you're heading and know where you're going. My observation is I start looking around people, they're so consumed with the everyday events, so consumed with just whether the light turns green, whether it turns red, consumed with what another agent does, consumed with whether a deal comes together, but they have forgotten the meat and the potatoes of what drives them, moves them, and dreams big, of the dreams that are big. So here's my plea to you: never, ever, ever, ever forget about your dreams. The single most important thing I've seen over my last 50 years was those defining moments when I figured out what I wanted my dreams to be. They started when I was pedaling up a little tiny incline on a little road in Holiday, Utah. We had just moved there. We moved into what would be considered the maybe less fortunate area, and right across the street was where all the rich kids lived. And it was right about the time when Mr. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, did anybody ever play Journey? That was one of my favorite. You want to play Journey? Come on. Donkey Kong? Pac-Man? All right, okay, I didn't lose you totally. But I remember those moments, and so I wanted just $5 from my mother to go play video games. And I remember her saying that she didn't have enough money. That was just a few moments or a few weeks maybe, or maybe a month or two before that. I can still remember her negotiating with the gas company. And the guy had his wrench in his hand. He kept doing this with the wrench. And he was there to turn off our gas to our house. I remember multiple times the phone being turned off, multiple times where it would be a busy signal and somehow they would scramble to find money. My mother would find it, but she didn't have $5 to give me. And I remember I lost my mind. I could not believe that she did not have $5. And so while I was pedaling on my bike, I was just seething with anger. My foot slipped off of the bike pedal. And I fell on top of my bike as I was pushing up this hill. And I fell all over my bike, fell down to the ground. And I remember screaming out loud, "I will be rich!" And here's the thing. That moment, when I was 11 or 12 years old, on that little hill, and every time I drive up it, I remember, it's near my home today. I drive up that little hill and I remember that. Now here's the thing. I've been poor many a times in my life, but the one thing I never forgot about was that declaration when I was 11 or 12 years old that I would be rich. I just want to ask you, have you forgotten your dreams? Have you just kind of existed? COVID did some weird things to us. It made us forget about what's possible. It almost pile drive the ideas of dreams and expansion and growth and a future that somehow we forgot about. I'm just going to challenge you. I would hope that you would take a step back and say, man, have I forgotten about the dreams that I had? Right? When you were a kid and you were asked the question, what are you going to be when you grow up? And you say, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be a fireman. Whatever it was. That doesn't have to be the same dream, but the question is, do you have dreams right now that somehow you've stuffed down into a closet, that you've stuffed down into the ground, you've forgotten about, you've avoided them, you've said, I don't want to do them, they seem so hard to get to, and so somehow you just forgot. The single most important ingredient to the successes that I have had, and even the failures that I've had, has been this one idea: don't ever, ever forget where you're going. And so often, I watch people forget. Because here's the byproduct of what happens when bad decision-making happens, it's almost always because you forgot where you're going. Always. When you forgot what it meant to prospect, when you forgot what it meant to knock a door, when you forgot what it meant to make your contacts, because you forgot that your dreams were connected to just 2 hours of prospecting, 3 hours, 50 contacts, a few door knocks. You forgot what it took to get there. So therefore, because you forgot, you didn't do it. Imagine how many dreams, economic ones, are failing today just simply because of the idea that you forgot why you prospect. What made me a great prospector when I was selling real estate is I never forgot why I was prospecting. Therefore, any disappointment, any rejection, any challenge, any hard moment, any yelling client or potential yelling client. I remember people hanging up on me, screaming at me, yelling at me. Now it's just you guys who yell and scream at me. You know, it's even more intense. But the fact is that, look, I remember it. But what kept me going was that I knew where I was going. I knew what I wanted to accomplish. I knew the life that I wanted to create. I knew the memories, the adventures, and the things that I want to have. I was so inspired by this that in the middle of my shower today, I came out and wiped down my whole mirror and I rewrote everything that I want to have happen for my life. And it's sitting there, right there, in blue magic marker on a mirror, because I realized for just a moment in my own life, I forgot. And the moment you forget, you will start making decisions and doing things that are so out of alignment that you will sit there and ask yourself the question, what's wrong? Why isn't it working? What's the market gonna do? What about the inventory? I can't believe they didn't list with me. You know, the commissions are really too high. I pay too much at this company. I need to maybe go get a real job. You start saying things because somehow you forgot the connection to what it really means to live your dreams. So look, it doesn't have to be real estate. But what I do know is that if you walk through your life empty from the dreams that you have, the things you want most, think of how many times that you have said, yeah, I really need to write those in my journal. Yeah, I really need to make sure I pay attention to where I want to go. Oh, you know, I'll do, many of you right now are saying, okay, you know, when I go out there later today, I'm going to write down all my dreams. And when I realized I was doing the same thing. So I basically flung open the shower door in the buff and started writing. Because I'm like, I'm not going a day longer that I am not absolutely clear. I have often been asked, like, why have you been able to achieve the things you achieved? And it's not that complicated. I just stay on track more often than most people. And there's days that I get off my track. I get off track, but I don't let it become a pandemic. I do not let it become a crisis, a complete mental breakdown, because I can never allow myself to go very far in life without knowing exactly where I want to go. And everything about the media, well-intended friends, people who love you, care for you, are trying to tell you where you should go, doing your thinking for you, which is one of my points. And the fact of the matter is that you're going to live a life that you will sit back and go, man, why didn't I just live my dreams? Because if you forget them, like we all do, at times and moments in our lives, if you don't have them written down, if you aren't basically screaming them from the housetop, you will forget them, and you will start taking actions, decisions, and doing things that are completely out of alignment with what you ultimately want. People often say to me, man, you're so obsessed with all this money. Weirdly, I'm not. I rarely talk about money. I'm all for money. I love what money does. I love the life it gives to people. I love the freedom that comes from it. I can talk about money all day long. But what I am most concerned with is number 2. Write this down. Become more to earn more. Become more to earn more. See, there was the realization in my life when I started failing in real estate consistently, is I realized the obsession that I needed to have. See, I could go blame the people who I went out on the listing appointment and said, I didn't get the listing because you know what? They told me that they wouldn't pay that commission. So therefore, but why don't we just be honest with ourselves? What it really means is that you didn't provide enough value that equaled the amount of money that you were willing to or wanted to take and they were willing to pay. That's the truth. The truth is often so difficult to hear because the reality is it's about most of the challenges in our lives are about who we are being and who we are becoming. So I have a habit to ask this question. Write this down. Who must I become? Who must I become to, and you fill in the blank, to sell blank number of homes, to earn blank dollars? See, some of you are already checking out. Here's a question for you guys. How many of you are already checked out in life? Some of you are just blatantly staring outside right now. I'm amazed at the fact that you sit there and you come to this for what, the free food? It was a good meal, but it wasn't that great. Right? I mean, my point is, it's like, how many other areas of your life are you checking out on? If you can't even be checked in here, where else are you checking out? You checking out as a dad? You checking out as a mom? You checking out as a partner in life? Where else are you checking out in? Because the fact is, if you can't even answer the question of who you have to become to earn a certain amount of money or to live the life that you want to have. Some of you are sitting there going, well, you know, he doesn't understand my thing. Really? I have lost everything multiple times. 12 years ago, I was sitting and asking myself how I was going to feed my family. That's where I was. I can remember being on 8 hours away from losing my home. And I remember so clearly wondering if ever a piece of real estate could ever be sold in the state of Utah, specifically at that time, again. I have almost lost my life. I have almost lost my wife. I have almost lost my children. I have almost lost everything economically. And then I get people who go, you don't understand. Really? We want to compare stories? I've been under general anesthesia 11 different times. Heart surgeries, knee surgeries, back surgeries, concussions 8 months ago that I couldn't even remember the day after the next. 8 months ago. So you cannot tell me that I don't understand. But what I do understand is that every one of you are going through the most difficult moments of your lives, period. I can take 9 out of 10 of you and you tell me a story and I go, well, how many of you were amazed? Were you like amazed by Russ's story? Holy cow! Like, wow! Talk about change your life in an instant. And I start looking at people like Jennifer, whose mother took her life, to Russ's father, who took his life. And then you're like, I don't know, it's really hot outside. I don't know if I can knock doors. Do you not think about the reality of what most people have gone through? And then you complain about the most stupid of things that are preventing you from living the dream and becoming the person you ultimately want to become? Don't check out, because in other areas of your life, you're checking out. And if you're checking out here, you're checking out in other places. And I'm telling you, that is a big problem if you want to achieve great things in your life. All right, everybody take a deep breath. I should probably take a breath. Dave, should we take a breath? I don't know. I saw someone checking out, and man, I just like turned on the car in there. All right, I gotta figure out where I am here now. All right, here we go. Right down next. All right, I'm all over the place, Mike. All right, here we go. All right, write down this one. I've already jumped down to number 4, and I'm gonna give you number 2. All right, write this down. One man, one woman can make all the difference in the world. One man, one woman can make all the difference in the world. Guys, some of you have heard the story, but I was always touched by Miss Heather Pappas, one of my dear friends back there. And I remember she called me when I told this story, and it was a daily message that she sent on. But I'm going to tell you this story because I think it's meaningful. Many of you have heard it, but man, I hope you remember it. I have a deep belief that the moment that one man or one woman understands that they can make a difference is when they will. So I've often said it, you'll start making a difference when you recognize that you make a difference. That is what I hope that none of you forget. Many years ago, my stepbrother, Rick Funk, I remember Rick was going through a pretty rough time. I remember that he was playing some of the best golf of his life, that I remember, but he also was separated from his wife. And I remember that they were having a pretty rough time, and it looked like he ended so many words in that relationship. I know many of you can relate to the ending of a relationship. And those are difficult moments and trying times. And I can still remember that I was trying to get a hold of him one day. And because my friend, Jason Erskine, Sean, many of you know Jason, dear friend of mine for many years, And I remember he called me and said, hey, have you heard from Rick? I said, no, why should I have heard from Rick? And he said, well, he was going to go change his insurance policy today. He wanted to take the beneficiaries, make sure they were his children, not his wife or soon to be ex-wife. I said, oh, okay, well, that's no big deal. All right, okay, well, that's cool. He goes, well, that was like 3 hours ago. Have you heard from him? I'm like, no, well, I'll give him a call. So I call, and the phone rings and rings and rings, goes to his voicemail, no big deal, doesn't answer. I'm like thinking nothing of it. Oh, 2, 3 more hours go by. Text him, called him. Jason's texted him, called him. No one can get a hold of him. All of a sudden, I call him around 4 in the afternoon, and his phone goes straight to voicemail. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Every single thing I can think of, I'm thinking is going wrong, right? I'm thinking my own brother is taking his own life. Well, about 10 o'clock at night, I was on the East Coast, midnight my time. I remember calling my friend and said, you got a hold of him? He goes, no. He goes, well, I'm going to drive over to his home. I don't find him. So he was living in a little apartment, I should say, it was his home at the time, down in Utah Valley, down by the Provo area. He was living down there, and I said, did you find him? He goes, no. And so I kept calling him. But you know what was nice? His phone was going straight to voicemail. It started not going right straight to voicemail. And then the answer was like this, and many of you have heard this, but I want you to hear it. He goes, hello? I go, what are you doing? He goes, what? What do you want? Why do you keep calling me? Oh my gosh, I'm like, you this time. I am so angry. I'm like, are you kidding me? He said, what do you need? He goes, why can't I take a break? And I said, you took more than a break. The 2 people closest to you, you have completely ignored for 24 hours or for the entire day. And he said, well, yeah, I needed a break. And I just said these words. I said, shut up. And he's all, shut up, Rick. You know, if you have a sibling, you can't talk to him like that, right? And I'm like, shut up. Sorry, I'm spitting. I don't spit on you. Sorry. You feel all that emotion from that day. So ticked off. Remember when I lost Kenzie in the airport, I was like, oh my gosh, what will I do? Then I found her and I wanted to beat her. You know? I was like, you know, mortified, so sad. Then I found her, then I wanted to kill her. Right? And that's kind of how I found my brother. I was thinking he had taken his life. Once I found he hadn't taken his life, now I wanted to kill him. And so I said, hey, what's the deal? He's like, what do you mean I need to take a break? I said, shut up. And I said, listen, you forgot. You forgot that you make a difference. You forgot that you have 3 children that adore their father, 2 boys that just like, you are their hero. You forgot you have a daughter who loves you. You forgot. Did you not forget? And he said those words. He said, I forgot. Don't ever forget how much of a difference that you make. I can arguably say from that day forward, Rick has never thought about taking his life again. And I know that we all go through different moments, man. And I'm here to tell you, I get it. But I'm just telling you, if you want to be great in real estate, you want to be a great father, you want to be a great mother, you want to be extraordinary at what you do, first and foremost, take a step back. There's nothing wrong about having a strong identity, a strong self-worth, an ego that's in check, that says, I make a difference. Just simply the words, I make a difference. Many times, have you thought about the times that someone said hello, someone gave you an attaboy, someone recognized something you did? Think about the times where your mother, your father, a close friend or a family member, or someone just acknowledged you and how good you felt because they made a difference in your life. It is said that the average human being will make a difference in the life of over 10,000 people, even with them not trying. But what if you woke up today and said, you know what, I make a difference. And that today I will make one. Whether it's the calls I make, the people I talk to, the real estate I sell, the loans that I do, the title work that I do, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you recognize that you make a difference. And my observation for my last 50 years is that when I identify with the fact that I make a difference, I become a better person. I act differently. I treat people differently. I move differently in my life because I know I make a difference. This isn't an ego fest. This isn't about you telling how great you are. This is about making a difference in the lives of the people you care for, making a difference in the lives of the people who are looking to you to lead them, to guide them, to help them navigate through some of the most difficult moments that real estate has ever seen. That is a whole different leader that shows up then. So do you want me to handle the sale for you? Like you're just like your buddy? No, a leader should show up. Not just a salesperson, a leader who shows up and guides and navigates and directs people to making and taking extraordinary decisions in their life. That's what this business is about today. It's what life is about today. Man, if this life has ever needed more so, this country has ever needed more than anything, it has needed a leader to step forward, people to step forward, to take a stand, not violently, but because they make a difference in everyday life, because they give hope, light, love, goodness, joy to people who are in need of it. My observation really quickly is that you see people do that, then that changes the whole course of the way in which you operate your life. It's not just about making a phone call. It's like, I'm there to make a difference for this person's life. Man, how many people today can I make it? It is not an accident that every morning I wake up and walk out to my car and I look up to the sky and I say those words. You've heard it before. Today, who will be the one that I will help? Serve, bless, give, make a difference. Whatever you want to say, whatever words resonate better to you. But my observation is that when I've done that, I am a better man. And I know that you can be a better human being, a better man, a better woman, a better leader, because you recognize that you make a difference. Don't underestimate who you are. You're greater and better than you think you are. And we are brutal and ruthless to ourselves. All right, next thing on right now. Where are we on time, Dave? Dave, are we getting bored yet? How much time do we have?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right. That's it, huh? That's it, Steph? Does anybody know that Stephanie was the first agent ever in the history of Everest? I just want to recognize that. And it's a close second and third, whether it's Alan Merrill or Mr. Jason Carlson up here, but you guys have been, but she wants to make sure she knows, Jason, I was number one. I mean, she wants to make sure you knew that. I know. Did you know that? Were you unclear on that? All right. She's good. I'm number one, you are number two, right? That's what she does. All right, here we go. Write this down, okay? We're gonna just do one more, maybe two, if we can get through it, then we'll wrap up here. Guys, stop letting everybody do the thinking for you. If there's any of the mistakes I've made, I know there are well-intentioned people, and you're like, well, I want to be open. I can learn from everybody, but be careful. Because it's the reason why our Everest sales system exists. It's the reason why people think we have this weird, almost like craziness about Everest because of who we are, because the energy, the flow, just the way we speak, the way we talk, the way we take responsibility, hold ourselves accountable, work on our mindset, drive our skill sets to a higher level, right? Living a life with purpose, creating strategies, systems, and tools that build you to a higher level. But the fact of the matter is that as you move through all of that, there still is this deep depth that can come into your life as you move into these things that I'm talking about. For me, it's taken 50 years of failure and observation, or maybe victories and seeing others, how they've done it, and the success that they've had, and the examples that they've given. So as you move through these things, just remember, the media, trainers, speakers, people like me, I guess I'm trying to do a little bit of thinking for you. Here's the thinking I want to do for you. Stop letting everybody do the thinking for you. You are brighter and smarter than you think. And my observation again is this, is that if you let everyone do the thinking, you never truly get what you want, which is freedom, independence. I have this new little puppy. What do you think when I hold that little puppy and I completely cover my arms around him, what does the puppy want to do? It like squeals, yelps, barks, wants to get free because it doesn't want anything to contain it and to hold it down. But it's the same way. It doesn't matter whether it's a creature or a human being, a monster or a animal, or again, a human being, a mother, a person. They want to be free. But if you let everyone else do your thinking for you and give you all the answers of what you can and can't do, that does not mean don't go to great mentors. People who have, of course, maybe they've gone through what you've gone through, done what you want to do. There are definitely those people you should, but not every time. What if you got into the habit of asking better questions? What if you got in the habit of pulling out your journal and just simply asking what and how? How do I become a better agent? What do I need to do to become a better parent? How do I become a greater leader? How do I earn more money? What must I do to sell more homes? The answers are almost always already in there, inside of you. And yet, you'll turn to someone else and go, okay, well, what do you think I should do? You know what to do. But here's the scary part. So often you don't want the answer. You don't want to hear the answer. So you'd rather someone give you an easier answer. Because if you came to me, I would say, go knock on a door. Then you go to the next person. Well, what do you think? Well, if you really want lots of ads, you could not have to call anyone. Oh, I like that answer. And you let someone do the thinking for you. I'm just telling you, think of all the times that you've allowed your answers to come from other people when you already know the answer inside of you. Some of you know answers to things right now, and you may be fearful and you may be scared, but you're avoiding them. You don't need to. And last but not least, write this down. Fear and gratitude cannot coexist. In my darkest moments, just a side note, fear and gratitude cannot coexist. Let me just elaborate. But just remember, I've said this before and I will say it to my grave. Treat everybody you meet as if they're going through the most difficult moments of their lives. And you will be right most of the time. And if there's anything that you can be kind. Be kind. You have not walked in their shoes. You have not lived their life. And if there's anything you can be kind. The great tragedy of humanity, one of the most saddest stories I've ever heard in relationship to this, was a person's car who was stalled. One of our dear friends, we were talking about him, Alma, Troy Critchfield. And all these cars were behind this car in the park in a stoplight. Honk, 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 cruising around him. Honk, why are you stopped? And you're just sitting in your car. Another one coming around, honk, right around him. Another one, honk, what is this stupid person sitting in the road here? Why aren't they moving their car? Why are they getting out of their car? We'll never forget. Troy had just a little bit of compassion for a moment. He goes, I wonder what's happening here. He pulled up behind the person, got out, bring me to tears. The lady was leaning against her seat at the side of the car door, and she was in full cardiac arrest, and she was having a heart attack. And he saved her life. Treat everybody you meet as if they're going through the most difficult moments of their lives. How quick we are to honk, how quick we are to yell, how quick we are to condemn, how quick we are to put down another, to judge, to put down. And my challenge to you is to be far more curious. Hey, I wonder why she stopped. Hey, I wonder what's going on here. Hey, I wonder why they're so angry. I wonder why they're yelling. I wonder what it is, why they're not answering their phone. I wonder where they are. Have you ever thought to consider that you're so willing to give yourself the grace of difficulty and challenges and go, well, wait, my situation's different. Are you willing to do the same for others? That's true leadership at its highest level. What has driven my life more than anything and allowed me in the darkest of moments is the habit of gratitude. And I know you've heard this before from me if you've been around me a lot. But man, make sure that you are grateful. Whether it's you're expressing your gratitude to another human being, whether it's that you're writing it down in your journal, whether it's a great meditation or maybe even a silent prayer. How often are you truly going to a space of gratitude? If gratitude and fear cannot coexist, when we think big and dream big and try to go big, fear is going to wind all and weave all around that stuff. You want to sell 50 homes, 100 homes, 200 homes. You want to be number one this, so great at that. Be the best at that. I can promise you fear will wrap around you like a blanket. And you can either listen to it and get deep into it and do nothing in your life because of it, or you can say, okay, how do I break free from the chains of this fear? And my promise to you that if you will be grateful, if you will write down your destinations, your dreams, your goals, your objectives, everything you want out of your life, if you would write them down in a place and in the energy of gratitude, you'll find yourself unstoppable. You'll find yourself willing to make more calls. You'll find yourself willing to step forward in places that you never would have, because you will be free, because there will be no fear. There will be no fear of rejection, no fear of no one answering, no fear of, well, what if I don't know what to say? Well, what if it doesn't work out? Or what if I don't make an appointment? Or what if they don't list? Or what if they ask me to reduce their commission? Grateful, 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 grateful. I'm grateful to be here. And if there's any habit that you could create in your life, one more than another, it would be to exchange all the expectations you put upon yourself and upon others with a tremendous amount of gratitude. Exchange your expectations with gratitude. You said you'd be here at this time. You're 1 minute late. I'm just grateful you're here. Kind of a different energy. See, I could be mad about all the people who aren't in this room, and I expect more people in this room, or I could just be grateful, which I am incredibly grateful that you are here. That's a different energy that I have found that helps me build my life the way I want it to be. So you have lots of expectations. I know you have lots of dreams. I know you have lots of goals, and I know you want to achieve so much. But just take a step back and take a deep breath and recognize that gratitude can fill your life. And when it does, you will be free to act, and you will be free to move and accomplish and do anything and everything you want to do. There is this balancing act of the skill sets and the ability to communicate, along with the internal mindset and beliefs that are necessary. Just one last thing. Just remember that if by chance, I know none of you would be, Taylor, if any of you in here are a jackass, just say it. Just say it. Scripts don't fix that. I just want to point that out. Somehow we think, oh, follow the script. You didn't say it right. Well, it's not what you said. It's always how you said it. And if there's anything that 28 years of marriage has taught me, it is not what I say. It has nothing to do with what I say. It is how I said it. Remember that. So you may have the best words on the earth to use for any type of situation you've ever dreamed could come up. But if you are not a good person, if you don't have a strong character, if you don't have integrity, if you don't have gratitude, if you don't have the very things of what you need to become more, to earn more, well, then the reality is you're going to find yourself stuck. And the only reason you're stuck is because you continue to look outside of you versus inside you. Guys, it is always a blessing and very much gratitude to be with you. I love being with you. I am so grateful to be with you. And you know what? Some of you are having some extraordinary successes already in 2021. Keep them going. Keep them going. Do not give in to the media. Do not give in to what other agents are saying. Do not give in to complacency. Don't give in to, well, I have enough. I have more than most. Chase your dreams and never, ever forget about them. All right? Have a great day.